Each learner is a unique individual. Therefore, to design a successful lesson that satisfies various needs, interests, as well as the level of every student is such a difficult task. However, this goal can still be achieved as long as a teacher has a fully understanding of who his or her students are. So in this video, we will give you some insight into the characteristics of the learners and the application of it into designing classroom activities. Many individual characteristics have been investigated, as listed here. However, we decided to place our focus on only 5 main aspects, which are believed to be familiar and practical for high school teachers in the context of Vietnamese classrooms. There are students' personality, intelligence, motivation, learning styles, and level. In this first video, we'll share about personality and intelligence. First, let's discuss about personality. I'm sure that you are all familiar with the two concepts, introvert and extrovert. Yet, the concept of ambivert sounds rather strange to you. In fact, it is very simple. Ambivert refers to those who are balanced between the two extremes of introvert and extrovert. Let me explain it in more details. Introverts tend to recharge by spending time alone. They lose energy from being around people for long periods of time, particularly large crowds. Extroverts, on the other hand, gain energy from other people. They recharge by being social. Also, while introverts are quiet and observant, extroverts are assertive and adventurous. Ambiverts, as aforementioned, exhibit both extroverted and introverted tendencies. This means that they generally enjoy being around people, but after a long time, this will start to drain them. Similarly, they enjoy solitude and quiet, but not for too long. Ambiverts recharge their energy levels with a mixture of social interaction and alone time. Let's watch a video with more examples so that you will have a clearer understanding.
Brainy Dose presents Introvert versus Extrovert versus Ambivert. Which one are you? There's been a lot of buzz about introverts versus extroverts, and for the longest time you were considered to be one or the other. But there's another personality type called ambivert, and it falls in the middle of the introverted-extroverted scale. In this video, we explore all 3 personality types and their traits. Knowing the differences can help you understand yourself and others better, perhaps even make you more successful in your day-to-day life. Are you an introvert? If you're an introvert, you tend to recharge by spending time alone. Being alone with your thoughts is as restorative as sleeping, and just as nourishing as eating. You also tend to think things through, especially before speaking or making a decision. Unexpected changes and last-minute surprises usually make you upset. You prefer to have a small, close group of friends, and you appreciate spending one-on-one time with them. But you are not necessarily shy though. You may not even avoid social situations. However, you lose energy from being around people for long periods of time. You definitely need some time alone after spending time in a crowd. Are you an extrovert? If you're an extrovert, you actually gain energy from others. Your energy is outward, towards people and things. You need a lot of stimulation and have no problem expressing your emotions. You find that your energy is depleted when you spend too much time alone, and you recharge by being social. You like variety and action, and strive for achievement. Many of you also want to change the world, at least in one way or another, and are more willing to put yourselves out there and actually do something about it. As an extrovert, you are easily accessible and understandable, and you possess a relaxed and confident attitude. However, you tend to act first and think later. Are you an ambivert? If you have both extroverted and introverted traits, then you are an ambivert. This means that you generally enjoy being around people, but after a long time they will start to drain you. Similarly, you enjoy quiet and solitude, but not for too long. You recharge your energy levels with a mixture of social interaction and some alone time. You may also come across to others as being boring, simply by falling in the middle of the spectrum. But this balance can actually be a good thing. You are flexible and you can adjust pretty well in most situations. Introverts and extroverts are the extremes of personality types. Ambiverts fall somewhere in the middle and are quite balanced between the two tendencies. So, does this mean that one personality type is better than the other? The answer is no. The truth is, the world needs all of these personality types, and we come in contact with a variety of personalities throughout our daily lives, from extreme introverts to extreme extroverts and everyone in between. Which of these personality types do you belong to? And how do those traits impact you in your personal or professional life? Let us know in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, and if you liked this video, please like and share and subscribe for more.
The differences in the character of introverts, extroverts, and ambiverts suggest that teachers should be more observant to create appropriate activities to balance between these three groups. Maybe it's difficult to design one activity catering for all types of personalities. So an alternative is to design a sequence of various activities. Another point to note is that character is only one aspect to consider. For example, in a vocabulary lesson, apart from fun games in groups, teachers can give students the individual puzzle challenges. In this way, everyone can study effectively and enjoyably. Turning to the second point, which is about intelligence. We have to admit that, for at least once or twice, the thought of, oh, the student is more intelligent than the other has crossed our mind. But is it true? Let's have a look at this MI theory developed by Gartner, and afterwards, I hope that you can figure out the answer yourself. MI stands for Multiple Intelligences, introduced by the psychologist Howard Gardner. In his book, he suggested that we do not possess a single intelligence, but a range of intelligences. He listed 7 of these: musical, verbal, visual, bodily, logical, intrapersonal, and interpersonal. All people have all of these, but in each person, one or more of them is more prominent. Gartner has since added naturalistic intelligence, and later on, Daniel Goleman added the 9th one, which is emotional intelligence. Let's have a look at this video presented by Gartner himself to get yourself updated with some of the latest information.
But I have a visual which I think is the better way to convey what MI theory says. If you look at the left of the slide, the notion there is intelligence is one thing, like as if you had one computer in your head. And as I said, if the computer works well, you're smart. If it doesn't, you're out of luck. MI theory says we have a bunch of computers. And these computers deal with spatial information, musical information, and so on. And if you're like me, you might have a computer that works very well, a computer that works average, and the computer is not very good. So that is a graphic, a visual way of conveying MI theory. So let me now introduce with some slides the intelligences which I defined some years ago, as well as talking about my more recent thinking on the topic. First intelligence is linguistic intelligence. It's the intelligence of an orator, a writer. This is a Chinese poet, Li Po. People who are good with language. This would be lawyers, writers. Second intelligence is logical mathematical. It's the intelligence of a scientist, a mathematician, somebody who deals with logic, somebody who deals with numbers. Now I list these intelligences first because if you take an IQ test, that's really what's being tested, is your linguistic and your logical mathematical intelligence. And that's fine, because IQ tests are used to predict how you will do in a certain kind of school at a certain historical era. And clearly it's good to have linguistic and logical mathematical intelligence if you want to succeed in school. But we don't stay in school our whole lives. And the further away you get from school, the more your job, your life, your family involves skills other than school ones, the less important those two intelligences are, and the more important the other intelligences are. And I think there's at least a half a dozen other intelligences: musical intelligence, the intelligence of a composer, of a performer. Here's the conductor of the Baltimore Symphony. Fourth intelligence, spatial intelligence. It's the intelligence that you need to find your way in wide space, the way a navigator or airplane pilot would, or in more constrained kind of space, like a chess player. Fifth intelligence is bodily kinesthetic intelligence. As you can see, it's the intelligence of the dancer, or the athlete, or the sculptor, or the surgeon, people who use their whole body, as a dancer or athlete would, or parts of their body, as a craftsperson or a surgeon would, to solve problems or to make things. Sixth intelligence is interpersonal intelligence. Very important intelligence for understanding other people, being able to work with them, people in politics, people in the media, people who are trying to sell you a used car. They're all using their interpersonal intelligence. Next intelligence is intrapersonal intelligence. Intra means turning inside. It's having an understanding of yourself, who you are, what you can do, what you want to do, what your skills are, what the obstacles are, what your motivational state is like. This kind of intelligence is very, very important nowadays because so many of us have to make our own decisions about where to work, with whom to work, what to study, what not to spend time on. And if you don't have a good knowledge of yourself, then you're going to make a lot of unnecessary mistakes. The eighth intelligence is the naturalist intelligence. As the name implies, it's the intelligence that allows us to make sense of nature, to tell one plant from another, one animal from another, one cloud configuration, one geological situation from another. And you might say, well, you know, that was important back thousands of years ago when we had hunters and fishermen, or people working in farms, but who needs naturalist intelligence when we just go to the supermarket? But the brain's pretty smart, and if you think of our consumer society, how do we decide which pair of shoes to buy, which automobile to buy? We're using the same neural networks which thousands of years ago were used to survive on the plains of East Africa or on boats in the South Seas. We're using those same neural networks to decide which items to consume and how to make the best choices given our own set of values. So those are the 8 intelligences which I am now convinced exist, and I have the data which I think backs it up.
This theory indicates that every person possesses the same set of intelligence. It's just about which type of intelligence is more outstanding. To apply this theory in teaching and learning environment, we should be able to identify the strengths and weaknesses of the learners to help them utilize their ability and at the same time develop what they lack. Also, teachers should have a more overall idea of who his or her students are, so as not to have bias over better students and prejudice over weaker students, because, as aforementioned, each individual has their own strengths and weaknesses. So, the provision of some basic knowledge about intelligence has wrapped up this first video. Please move on to the next one for more information.